Hello YouTube, it's me TFR Wilderness again, bringing to you the second of my top bots of the year videos. Yesterday I uploaded, well, I did it the day before, I did it on Friday the 27th, but I ran out of time to upload it in time for midnight, so I decided to leave it until Saturday morning. But anyway, you saw it yesterday, my worst bots of the year, my 12 worst bots of the year. So I've got that one out of the way. And now I'm going to show you the best bots I got of the year. And the bots you're about to see are all bots that I purchased this year. They're not necessarily new releases from this year. They're just bots that I bought over the course of the year. And as I buy bots over for each month, and then I do my end of month bot haul, it's my most favourite bot that I bought from each of the individual months. And at the end of the year, obviously, I've got a list of 12 bots to show you, and that's why this is a top 12 list. I've also got a couple of honourable mentions to show you as well. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Now, I've also got a bit of a sore throat. I've got a bit of a mild infection in my bronchial tubes. So it's causing me to wheeze a little bit, and if I talk for long periods, it dries my throat out, and I have to take a little sip of water just to ease things a little bit. But anyway, let's get on with it. Right, so these are all done in monthly order, starting with January going through to December, and then obviously then I'll do the honourable mentions. So let's make a start, shall we? Right, January. Now, on my worst list, there is a undersized KO of this bot, and I mentioned in that list, that video, that I'd got this thing, and you will see it again in my top list, and as you will. So back in 2018, I bought the Miniforce X combiner figures, and they were all absolute garbage. I mean, a bunch of them ended up on my worst bots of 2018. But after they did that, they then released a fifth bot in the line, and it was Miniforce X Ray Bot. And when I saw it, and this was the back end of 2018, I thought, oh, that looks amazing, I've got to get that. But I didn't actually buy it until January 2019. So this is a bot that came out in 2018, but I didn't actually get one until the beginning of the year. And it's this guy. Like I said, Miniforce X Ray Bot, and this is the proper one. This is the proper figure. Obviously, I showed you a KO version of this, undersized KO version of this in my worst bots list. This is the first entry in my best bots list. Now, as you can see, he's quite big. He's heavy. He's got lots of nice clicky joints, decent paintwork, really good build quality, great design. It's a triple changer. It's got 3 modes. It's got a large, impressive looking robot mode. It's also got an awesome looking black car mode that looks like looks a bit like a Chrysler 300C. And then you've got the bird mode, which is a bit of a stretch. It kind of looks like a bird, but it's a thing. It's a triple changer. But all in all, this thing's an amazing bot. The build quality is superb on this thing. It's awesome. It's brilliant, and it blew me away. I mean, it was so much better than the other Miniforce X figures that I got in 2018. It's chalk and cheese. I mean, they were all, I wouldn't say cheap and nasty, but the build quality on the design on them was sorely lacking. But this guy, they totally made up for it. This thing's amazing. I mean, ratcheted thigh swivels. It's a really big, heavy, solid bot, and it was a shoe-in for my first top bot of the year back in January. So Miniforce X Ray Bot. Then moving on to February, Iron Factory Spirits of the DEC. What is it? IFEX31 Dubhe. Their Legend Scale Tarn from the DJD. Now, obviously, in this year they they decided to do these Legend Scale DJD figures from the IDW More Than Meets the Eye comic, and this was the first one to come out, and it's a great little figure. I mean, I've got the Mastermind Creations one on the shelf up here, and it's a great little figure. Looks amazing. Looks like a scaled down version of the Mastermind Creations figure. Transformations, fairly simplistic. The alt mode is a bit... Obviously there's certain liberties with the alt mode, but then again, Tarn's alt mode is just a Cybertronian tank with two fusion cannons on the top of it, and it does that. But this guy is part of a combiner team where you combine them together to form, a gestalt out of all the 5 main team members, and I've got all the team members now, and I've combined it, and it's a really good set. But this guy is really cool. I really liked him, and he was, in my opinion, the best thing I picked up in February. Did a review on it, but for some reason that video didn't get so many views. It's only got about 40 something odd views. So I was a little disappointed at the result, the traction that video got, but nevertheless, I got him. He's great, and he was the best thing that I got in February. Iron Factory's Dubhe. Then the next bot I got was a Centenary bot. In fact, he was my first Millennium bot, my first 1000 bot. And Toy Wolf W01 Dirty Man, their toilet former. Yeah, so at the time, this was my bot 1000, but as you saw in my Chewing the Fat video, was it last month? Or was it this month? No, it was this month, earlier this month. I said at the end of that video that I'd discovered some discrepancies in my bot numbering system back in 2017, which meant that all the numbers going forwards from the start of that discrepancies were 3 digits out. There was 3 numbers missing, and every Centenary bot after that event has been affected, including this guy. So this guy is now no longer my bot 1000. He's just bot 1003, but he's still a great little bot. I mean, he turns into a toilet, complete with plastic poop and a plunger and a rolled up bog roll, and then he turns into this sort of robotic samurai, well, it's not. Well, it's like a goblin samurai, and he just looks amazing. He's got so much character and details. The engineering on it is pretty cool. It's nice, solid. I mean, his proportions are a bit stunted, but then again, he's supposed to be like a goblin or something. But it's got amazing detail on his head. Teeth, and he's got like a kabuki style mask, with this big long phallic nose on it, and he's also got the little the hidden penile, like meat and 2 veg hidden away under his beer belly. But yeah, it's a fantastic figure, and the main reason why I had it as my best bot in March was because it was my bot 1000, but that's no longer a thing now. But I still like it. It's still a great bot, and I still think it's one of the best figures I picked up that month. So yeah, Toy Wolf W01 Dirty Man. Then in April, I went to the second NEC Toy Fair of 2019. I mean, obviously there's 4 NEC Toy Fairs. The first one was in February, the second one was in April, the third one was in September, and the fourth one was on December 27th, and I went to that the other day. So I've been to all 4 of them again. And April was... I got some pretty cool stuff in April. Including a bot you will see on the honourable mentions list. And some people might be questioning why that bot isn't my best bot of the month instead of this bot that I'm about to show you. And I mean, there's a few bots on this list that I'll show you, and they're, you know, you got to question why I picked that bot over everything else that I got in that month. And it's down to personal preference, because there's obviously something about the best bot, something that appealed to me, be it, you know, the character, the colours, the engineering, you know, the design aesthetic, or nostalgia factor. These can all have an effect on my, you know, how I pick a best bot for any given month. And that was definitely the case in April, because on going round the NEC Toy Fair, I did my sweep of the hall, and then just before I went to see my mate Richard, I saw something, and then I asked him the price, and thought, actually, you know, that's great, I've got to get that. And I got it, and wow. Gakken, Legioss, Henshin Robo, yeah, Legioss, Henshin Robo. Yeah, this is basically the big scale version of a toy that I had when I was a kid. I had one of the smaller, simpler versions of this toy when I was a kid, and it was one of my sort of old gang bots that I had when I was a kid. And I love that thing. And because it was called a Henshin Robo, I used to call him Hessian, because Hessian and Henshin, you know, similar sort of sounding, looking words. But this one, I got this, and wow, this thing's amazing. It transforms, well, it's got 3 modes. It's got a robot mode, a Ger Walk mode, and it transforms into a, you know, massive, great, you know, sci-fi fighter jet. Absolutely brilliant figure. It's an original toy from like the 1980s. It's a bit yellowed, but most of the accessories were there. Not quite all of them. It was in its original box. The box is a bit tatty, but you know, it is a fantastic thing. Not the best articulation, because the hips are kind of limited. You know, you can't splay the hips out, even though they have kind of got a hip rotation, but that's down to transformation. But I love this thing. I mean, nostalgia factor was huge in me getting this, because it's just a bigger version of a toy than what I had when I was a kid. It just reminded me so much of that, and well, this is way better than my original toy that I had when I was a kid. This is like, you know, this is the big, as far as I'm aware, this is the biggest version of this figure that they made. There were various different scales of this toy, and this is the biggest one, and it's absolutely awesome. I mean, really, I should, you know, transform it into the play mode, because the play mode is just so impressive. I mean, the play mode's worth price of admission alone. So yeah, this guy for me was easily the best bot I got back in April. It's a very unusual bot. It's very, very rare, very, very specific. You know, sort of a rare, like 1980s Japanese toy. So yeah, I got that guy back in April. The Gakken Legioss Henshin Robo, the big one. Then moving on to May, and yeah, I got hold of this guy, Studio Series SS38 Bumblebee Movie Voyager Optimus Prime. Now, when I saw this figure was coming out, I thought, wow, yeah, that looks amazing. I've got to get me one of those. And so I managed to get hold of one back in May. And yeah, it pretty much blew me away when I got it. Awesome aesthetic, both in truck and robot mode. Yeah, it's got an involved fiddly transformation. In fact, I actually had a go with it the other day, and it's been ages since I messed with it, because since I got it, it's pretty much been down in my Optimus display in my Detolf, and so I hadn't really messed with it. And then I got it out and I played with it the other day and got a little confused with the transformation, how it worked, but I figured it out eventually, and it's a fantastic figure. Love the aesthetic on it. You know, a modern interpretation of Optimus Prime, and one of a few Optimuses that came out in this year, which, you know, are regarded by many as really, really great figures. So yeah, got him in May, and he was, in my opinion, the best thing that I got in May. So that's Studio Series SS38 Bumblebee Movie Leader Voyager Class Optimus Prime. So moving on to June. Toyworld FS01 Bulldog. Now, a couple of things. I'm a bit of a Toyworld fanboy, or I was many years ago. Bought a lot of the early Toyworld stuff, and then I got hold of their Jazz Coolsville. Went to transform it, and it was an absolute nightmare. And I really hated, the transformation on that thing. It was awful, and it sort of put me off the brand for a little bit. And I didn't buy any new Toyworld toys. And then after that, Toyworld had that little breakup between some of their designers and engineers, and they split off to form Zeta Toys, and that left Toyworld in the lurch because a lot of their talent had left the company, and they had to sort of reinvent themselves. So then they basically changed tactics. Instead of trying to do third-party masterpiece figures, they changed their tune and now decided to go for third-party movie masterpiece figures and studio series figures, and they're also dabbling in the Legends market as well. So they've changed their tactics, and this was one of the first products they brought out. I mean, I think they brought out their Legends scale wheeljack and exhaust first, but then they brought this guy out. This is the first of their sort of studio series style figures, and it's based on that tank you see in The Last Night when they go to that bloke's castle, and he's got it in the background. He's only on screen for a few seconds, but Toyworld decided to do a figure of that, and they ended up with this. And this thing's just incredible. I mean, the engineering, the sculpt, the alt mode, the paintwork. I mean, the paintwork on this thing is amazing. I mean, there isn't a part on it that isn't painted. The whole thing has been painted with this kind of mucky, dirty, rusty wash, and the sculpting on it, and it's just an amazing figure. There's just so much stuff on it that's just awesome, and it's so well painted. I'm surprised that Mr. Bobby Skullface hasn't reviewed this. As far as I know, he hasn't reviewed it, and I noticed he did his sort of third-party awards video the other day, and they had a category in that for the best painted third-party figure, and this guy wasn't even on that list. And it's only because I think he hadn't got hold of one to review. And had he reviewed it, knowing what a raving fetish he's got for paintwork, I'm sure he would have been drooling over this. But yeah, it's a fantastic figure, and I absolutely love it. And I basically renewed my membership card of the Toyworld fanboy club, buying this. I've got their World War II Bumblebee, their Green Hornet as well, but that isn't quite as good as this. It isn't as big. It isn't as, quite as well painted and engineered as this guy, but I could gush about this all day. I mean, I love this thing. This is easily it was easily the best bot I got in June, and quite possibly one of the best bots I got this year. Now, moving on to July. Now, July was one of those months whereby, out of all the bots that I got, none of them were outstandingly brilliant. None of them stood out as being so much better than the rest. It was a bit of a muchness. So it was difficult for me to pick a best bot. And the bot I've chosen, it's down to nostalgia and character factor more than anything else. So, back in July, I finally got hold of one of these. An Energon Ultra Magnus. Now, I'm a bit of a fan of Ultra Magnus, because, I've got a few. I'm not exactly character mould set collecting, but when a decent Magnus mould comes out, I usually seek it out. He's one of my favourite characters, and this was one of the Magnus moulds that I didn't have. Now, yes, this thing is a brick. It's hardly got any articulation. It doesn't do much. The alt mode is just a big massive lump of something being towed by a little Minicon truck. So yeah, it's very unusual, and it was a repaint of their what was it, Overload figure, which was like sort of like the Optimus version in the red. But I wanted to get hold of this, and I sort of passed on it a few times, like some really cheap ones on eBay. Hadn't been able to get hold of them, and eventually I bought this one for about 30 odd quid, which was probably, I could easily have got one cheaper than that. But I was so glad when I got him, and the reason why I picked this as my best bot in July over everything else I got that month, I mean, a couple of reasons. One, it's Ultra Magnus. Two, it was a figure that I'd been seeking out and searching for quite some time. I really like the colours on it because, you know, I like Ultra Magnus, you know, the white, the blue and the red. And the other thing is the Minicon. It transforms into a Dragon Wagon, which is like an armoured heavy goods vehicle transporter from the Second World War. And I love this thing. I love the fact that, and it's got sound effects as well. So yeah, that was, you know, principally the reason why I decided to pick this as my best bot in July, because of all this, because of who it is, what the Minicon transformed into. It was a collection of things, and you know, a great nostalgia factor in me getting hold of this. So this is an unusual one. It was a bit of a lean month in July, but I decided to select this guy as the best thing that I picked up back in July. Energon Ultra Magnus. And then obviously August, and August was TF Nation, but the bot that I picked as my favourite bot, or rather bots, was something I picked up just before TF Nation, because I was unsure whether I'd be able to pick it up at TF Nation. I was a bit worried that, you know, some of the dealers that would have been selling it at TF Nation, because there was a demand for it, they would have hiked their prices up, and it might have been, I might have been paying like, you know, £25 plus each for the free figures that make up this figure. So I managed to get mine from Forbidden Planet online just before TF Nation, and it's the Siege Refractor, you know, triple set that you form together to form the camera mode. And I am, no, it's the actual camera mode that I'm counting as my top bot of the year, or bots of the year, because they form, the three figures form together to form this alt mode, and it's amazing. I love it. I mean, it's got a trigger, it's got a flash, it's got the lens, you've got the guns that peg together to form the tripod. None of the accessories are left out. Yeah, everything's used up to form the camera mode. I mean, yeah, okay, they did that deluxe version where they repainted the figures and it has all the extra bits to make it look a lot more realistic as a camera, but I'm quite happy with this one, to be honest. And I used to use an SLR camera back in the 1980s, as my dad did, and my dad still, you know, well, I've still got them somewhere, but it just reminded me so much when I used to go around taking pictures with an old, you know, print film SLR camera. So yeah, and then, you know, you don't get the instruction when you get the individual figures. They don't come with instructions to form the camera mode. You have to sort of wing it. But, you know, you can look online. People will show you how to do it, and then you just fold all the guys up into their square mode, and then just plug them together, and then you add the three shield pieces up, the three gun pieces to form the tripod, and then just put the other bits on, and there you go. You've got yourself a camera. I love this thing. It's amazing. You know, it just looks so great, and it was easily, in my opinion, the best thing that I got in August, and I got it just before TF Nation, so I didn't have to run around and seek these guys out at TF Nation. But they're readily available in, you know, Smiths now, and I think they've even got them in the Entertainer. I noticed the Entertainer the other day, they'd got you know, Siege Deluxe Refractors on the shelf. So he is quite easy to get hold of now if you want to make your own sort of camera mode. It's just the fact that you have to buy 3 of them to do it. That's just the only really downside of it. You know, you have to shell out for 3 figures. And I think with the postage on it, I think these guys cost me about... It was just under 50 quid. It was about 48 quid or whatever it was, I think. But, yeah, I was quite happy and pleased to get hold of this. And it was, in my opinion, the best thing that I got in August. Now in September, this one's another strange one, another one where you probably think, well, why was that the best thing you got in September? Cyberverse Spark Armor Shockwave. Now hear me out. I've got him here with all his Spark Armor on. I quite like Shockwave. I'm not a massive fan of him, but I have noticed that in the Cyberverse line particularly, Shockwave has been one of those standout characters. Most of his toys have been really great and a damn sight better than the other toys that they're releasing in the line. I mean, you got the Warrior class Shockwave that came out in Wave 1. He was way and above better than any of the other figures they released in the first wave. They also did the Ultra class, which was a pretty good figure. Not quite as good as the Warrior, but in my opinion, but you know, still pretty good. And then they did this version. And this is just a little scaled down one, but because of the way he transforms into that spider tank, he's got all the articulation joints you could want. You know, he's got thigh swivels, bicep swivels, you know, and absolutely fantastic. And then you put the Spark Armor on, and I've got to admit, I really like what the Spark Armor turns into. So let's just take it off. So you take the Spark Armor off and you end up with a little sort of Scouts class Shockwave, which is really good. And then it comes with this. Is it called Solar Strike or something like that? It's basically a satellite. And I just love these solar panels that clip on the back. It just reminds me of Skylab for some reason. I don't know why. If you want to know what Skylab is, go back to the late 1970s. There was the Sun Observatory that used to, you know, go around the Earth. And it was a spaceship with a large cross sort of had a big thing on the end, and it was damaged when it went up, and it did its job, but then it sort of crashed down to Earth, I think in 1980. But anyway, this thing's got like a huge parabolic antenna on the front, so you know it looks like a space laser, and it's really, really cool, and I absolutely love this thing. And this is part of the reason why I like this figure so much. I mean, not only do you get a really great little, you know, Shockwave figure, you also get this awesome little sort of builder accessory with this amazing sort of like shocking pink, you know, spy satellite. And also the rubber parts. I mean, he's got like the hose is made out of, you know, that soft rubbery plastic, but it's actually useful. You know, all the rubber parts on this guy are not, you know, they're not crap. They actually serve a purpose, and they're actually well designed and well thought out. And this thing's just great. So yeah, and I liked it so much that I've got it down as the best thing that I got in September. I know it's an unusual pick, but there you go. That's Cyberverse, was it Power of the Spark Armor Shockwave. Then moving on to October. Mastermind Creations reformatted R38 Ni, as in Ni. And it's the scientific symbol or for nickel. So we've got nickel from the IDW, from the DJD and the Scavengers. And I love Nickel. Nickel's easily one of my favourite characters to come out of, More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light. And I absolutely love her. She's amazing. And I wanted to get, if ever somebody did a toy of it, I would have bought it, without question. And of course, Mastermind did it as part of their, DJD series of figures that they were doing. And it came bundled with the pet. The pet's all right, but Nickel was the figure that I really wanted, and she's amazing. She comes with a bunch of accessories. She kind of has got 3 separate alt modes. She's got like a moon buggy, a sort of a submarine, and a spaceship. So take your pick what you want to transform her into. Though she doesn't really transform that much in the comics. She's largely in robot mode. She was the mechanic for the DJD team, and then if you haven't read Dying of the Light, sorry for spoilers, but the DJD basically got killed off. They all died, with the exception of her. She was the sole survivor. And then she joined up with Deathsaurus and went to sort of fight with him for a while. And he made her up to be a commander. And then there was this incident where they went to some planetoid, to some abandoned Decepticon base, and there was these 2 sort of galactic factions that were fighting over, and then there was some sort of incident, and Nickel got swept into a transmat void and wound up hanging out with the Scavengers. And I love the Scavengers. The Scavengers are amazing. They're easily one of my favourite things to come out of IDW. And now she's like part of the Scavengers crew, sort of wandering around the galaxy, sort of helping lost and forgotten Decepticons to find themselves again. It's great, and I was going to make this the best bot of any given month that it arrived, unless something else outrageously impressive, pushed her out, but it didn't. And I didn't actually get mine till October, even though I should rightly have got it in August, because that's when the figure came out. But because of a bit of a thing with the supplier that I got it from, I didn't actually get mine till October, but that's neither here nor there right now. I finally got it, and it's Nickel, man. I had to make this one of the best bots that I got in October. And now on to November. If you saw my end of month bot haul I did last month, then you'll have seen this. Well, any of the end of month bot hauls that I did, you'd have seen these figures, because they're all part of my first and worst. But last month, it was this guy, New Age NA H9EX Leader Hynkel. It's the sort of like the G1 toy repaint of their Agamemnon figure, and he's been done in this awesome shiny silver. He's got all the red pieces on him, on his arms, on his legs, and this thing is awesome. It's an amazing little fiddle toy. The transformation on this thing is absolutely wizard. It's brilliant the way it works. And I like Megatron Gunform was mainly because of the transformation engineering of turning a bipedal robot into a handgun. And this guy has got a different take on that, and it's an unusual one. I mean, the result of his design and aesthetic is he's got these unusual hips, these very wide hips, which probably look a little bit on the regular version because of the dull grey colours. It's a little bit more noticeable, but not so much on the Hynkel version because of all the nice shiny glossy paint. But if you look past that, and then when you get into the transformation, this thing is absolutely amazing the way that it works. Absolute genius. And it's a fiddle toy. I just couldn't put this thing down. I just kept messing around with it, flipping it backwards and forwards. It's so much fun. So yeah, and it was a shoe-in for my top bot of November. So that's New Age NA H9 EX Leader Hynkel. And then December, this month. So yeah, got what I got this month. And again, it was a bit of a struggle for me to pick a best of this month, because it was a bit of an unusual mixed bag of things that I got this month. And obviously you'll see them in my end of month bot haul. But as for the best item I got, the most favourite item I got, I think it has to be this guy. Yeah, Siege Omega Supreme. I wanted to get one of these before the end of the year, and I noticed that Smiths was doing a Black Friday thing whereby if you paid over £50, you get a £5 voucher off. Or if you paid over £100, you get a £10 voucher off. So I got this guy £10 cheaper than the recommended retail price. So £129.99, and he's probably the fourth most expensive bot that I bought this year. He's obviously one of the biggest bots I've bought this year. He's really good. He's awesome. I like him a lot. Typical Titan class. He's got a lot of really big, heavy joints. Transforming him's a bit involved. You know, you get the fire base and the rocket. Comes with a little countdown figure, who I'm not showing here because obviously he's I count him as a separate bot, and you know, this is the guy that's the best thing that I got, so I'm not counting him as part of that. But yeah, this thing's awesome, and I think it's the best thing that I got this month. It's a really great figure. I like it a lot, and I got it slightly cheaper than retail, so I was quite pleased about that. And when I look at my other Titan classes who are up there, because you know I've only got you know, Fort Max and Trypticon. Out of the three, I think this guy is better than Fort Max, but I don't think he's better than Trypticon, because Trypticon for me edges this guy out because he's a giant robotic dinosaur, and it's as simple as that. But this is a pretty good figure. The only other Omega Supreme I've got is the Energon one. So yeah, I was looking forward to getting this, and I finally got him in December. I mean, had this guy been out in time for TF Nation, I probably would have bought it at TF Nation. But you know, it was a bit slow coming out. Didn't come out till I think about was it September? I think this guy came out, or maybe October. I don't know. But yeah, so I finally got hold of one, and yeah, he is my favourite thing that I got this month. So that's the 12 top bots that I got this year. But there are a couple of honourable mentions to go with this. First thing first, in January, I got this. Papa Toys PPT-05 Ultralore Warrior. And it's their like Legends Plus Ultra Magnus. Now this thing is really, really awesome. I mean, I've got the Magic Square Ultra Magnus, and he's a great figure as well. This guy is considerably bigger than that figure, because it's like there's kind of these two different scales of Legends class figures that are coming out now. You got the small Legends and the big Legends, and this is definitely a big Legends. I mean, he's basically a deluxe G1 Ultra Magnus, and he's kind of like a scaled down version of the Masterpiece in many ways. He's got that Ultra Magnus, now that blocky, chunky aesthetic that I like. The Magic Square one's a bit lanky, so I prefer this one to that. really good engineering, great articulation, awesome paint. You know, he's got a matrix. Fantastic little figure, awesome. And had it not been for Raybot, this guy would have been my top bot of January. But as it happens, he's an honourable mention. Then in April, I got hold of this guy, Giga Power HQ04R Gravitar. And I got this off AliExpress, off a seller off AliExpress. I mean, this thing is a masterpiece in every sense of the word. It's big, it's heavy, it's impressive. It's, you know, it's got all the paintwork, all the moulding detail, all the transformational engineering you could want. It's an amazing figure. It's awesome, and it's so heavy. And it's the second most expensive bot that I bought this year. Now, this guy came out same month as this guy. And a lot of people will be saying, well, why isn't that on your top bot list instead of that thing? It's like, well, like I said, it's all down to nostalgia. I mean, I had such a nostalgia hard-on for this thing that it had to be my top bot of the month, which kind of left this guy out in the cold. But I've decided to put him on my honourable mentions to make up for that in some small respect. But this is the one and only sort of like Giga Power figure that I'm going to get. I am decided I was going to go for Masterpiece Dinobots, but I'm doing a mix and match with my Dinobots. I'm not buying them all from one company. I'm going to have one from each from an individual company, and so far I've got 4 out of the 5. The only one I need now is a slag, and I'm trying to get hold of the what's it called, the Perfect Fusion PF01 Cesium. I'm trying to get hold of one of those, but they're like hen's teeth and ridiculously expensive. But I want him to finish the job and get my slag. But yeah, I got hold of this guy back in April, and he's really impressive, and he's my honourable mention for April, Giga Power Gravitar. Then in June, I got a couple of honourable mentions. First is Fans Toys Sever. Again, you know, this guy's on the honourable mentions because what I got in June, which was Toyworld Bulldog, I mean, that thing's just amazing. And it was going to, you know, overshadow this thing in a huge way. I got a lot of good stuff in June, a lot of really good stuff, and a couple of them I've put on the honourable mention. So yeah, again, like I said, I'm doing mix and match on my Dinobots. This is my slags from Fans Toys. I got my Snarl from Giga Power. I've got the Masterpiece Grimlock, and I've got my Swoop from Bullsfire Airstrike. Is my Swoop. So yeah, it's going to be a really odd bod selection of figures when I finally get my Masterpiece Dinobots set completed. But this is the guy I chose to act as my Snarl, and he's a great figure. He's an awesome figure. So I got him, and he's my honourable mention for June. And my other honourable mention for June, I mean, these last 2 honourable mentions I'm going to show you, I'm keeping them in alt mode because that's the main reason why I decided, you know, to get them was because of their alt modes. Transformers Ghostbusters crossover Ectotron. So yeah, this came out in June. I managed to get hold of one. It's the heavy remold of was it Combiner Wars Hotspot or Onslaught, whichever one you want to choose, into the Ecto 1. And it's amazing. It's absolutely virtually flawless. I mean, yeah, it's got a few sort of obvious panel lines across the bonnet, but apart from that, it's an amazing looking thing. And it's such an amazing feat where they got this alt mode out of basically a Combiner Wars Voyager figure that, yeah, So yeah, awesome. Got him in June, and I was really impressed with him. And then finally November, Mechanic Studios G017062 Jialong. So yeah, this unusual figure came out from Mechanic Studios, based on a real world deep sea submersible from China called the Jialong, and they did a little figure of this, and it's amazing. It's awesome. I love this thing. It's so unusual to see an alt mode that's based on a realistic vehicle, and not just any old, you know, sort of car or plane or tank or helicopter. It's actually based off a submarine, a deep sea submersible, which is really unusual, and you know, not something you don't see every day. And the robot it transforms into isn't a transformer per se. It's actually a mech, because it has a little pilot inside, and I love this thing. This thing is absolutely awesome, and I decided to make it as an honourable mention. So yeah, that's it. That's all my best bots of 2019. So as I did at the end of my my worst bot sort of selection, I wanted to pick one bot that, in my opinion, is better than all the rest. Now, it's going to be from the main 12 rather than the honourables. So, who am I going to pick? To me, it's a toss-up between sort of two figures. I think it's this guy. It's Toyworld Bulldog. It's so incredible what they did with this. Like I said, the sculpt, the engineering, the alt mode, the paintwork, you know, everything just culminated together for an absolutely amazing figure. And I love this thing. It's awesome, absolutely awesome, and I think probably my favourite, or the best bot I've got all year. So what do you think? Do you think I made the right choice or choices with my list? Quite welcome to give me your thoughts in the comments. I know I got a couple of bots that a bit sort of, you know, why did he pick that? I mean, Cyberverse, Spark Armor, Shockwave. I mean, how can that be on my top list when it's up against, you know, the likes of this guy on the honourable mention? You know, it's ridiculous. But that's my list. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I don't know whether you've been hearing me wheezing because I've got this sore throat going on. Yeah, so I've been struggling a little bit doing this video with this extended period of talking. But anyway, that's been me, TFR Wilderness. I'll be doing my end of month bot haul video on Tuesday, so look forward to that. And that'll be the final video I'll be doing for this year. But until then, I've been TFR Wilderness. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you all next time. Ta-da.